Today with us right now, we are pleased to announce Deirdre Waterman with us. She is the mayor of the city of Pontiac. Thank you, Mayor, for being with us. We so appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here with you at this almost 1 year anniversary.
Almost 1 year anniversary, but I will say I love your background. It's a beautiful site of the city of Pontiac.
Well, that just demonstrates how beautiful the city of Pontiac is, and I'm happy to be here and happy to be chosen as mayor for this fine city.
So as we begin to mark the 1 year anniversary of COVID-19 here within our boundaries of the state of Michigan, for the city of Pontiac, it's been a challenge, but also a blessing in some ways because you guys have continued on with some of your economic development programs. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, we're very happy to have done that. And as you said, the pandemic was a health glitch for all of us. And we found how to operate even in the face of the limitations and privations during that period. And we needed to do that because we kept moving forward with the progress that Pontiac has had. And as you talk about the economic development, we have 40 new building projects going on in the city as we speak right now. And that's the largest economic development growth of the city since the early days of General Motors. So that's saying quite a bit.
That is saying not just quite a bit, but you're doing this in the middle of a pandemic as well. So talk about some of those beginning challenges, but how you as a city government overcame some of those challenges.
Well, just as everyone else, when we were faced with a pandemic that made us have to change the way we operated, we thought very carefully. I worked with my department and division heads to devise strategies for being able to communicate and still operate effectively, but still health-wise safely, because that was the primary concern. And so we did that. And we found, like everyone else, that we found many modalities, many technical and logistical ways of operating that way, so we could still serve the public, still keep on the services going with the same quality, the same efficiency, and still keep people moving along with the progress we'd had in the economic development progress, including such things as, I said the 40 building project, but that includes several new housing developments because Pontiac now has become kind of a destination city for people to live and to work in. And so we were coming into a housing shortage. The average time to sell a home in Pontiac and a lot of our neighborhoods is 3 days. So that shows a lot of people who are now coming to work in the city wanted to live here too. So we've been beset with getting a number of different housing establishments and projects going on, in addition to the fact that the commercial and other projects such as the Village at Bloomfield, which is now a growing enterprise. It has a Menards. The parking lot is always full, as well as there'll be a Hampton Inn coming up, and there are 400 new housing units going up over there that are on a lovely marsh that's in Pontiac, along that Telegraph corridor, that entry to Pontiac. So that's one. Not to mention the fact that the great granddaddy of projects, the Amazon project, which is taking over the whole Silverdome site, all 127 acres. The first time in the United States that Amazon has brought both a distribution center and a fulfillment center to that same site. People have seen the fulfillment center going up. It's monstrous with all the technology that's being brought there. It is 4 times the square footage of the Silverdome, if you can imagine that. So that is going up as we speak. And they didn't miss a beat. They had a deadline that they set when they started. We were able to keep them moving along. And they're going to be opening that and turning that over to Amazon August 1st of this year. So we're right on time with that. And as the builders and developers and investors came to the city and said, hey, look, we know there's a pandemic, but we got a timeline because time is money. And so we said, well, we would meet that challenge. And so we've hired the necessary people, had the necessary logistics and technology in place to be able to support all those efforts. So nobody's had to slow down on behalf of the city of Pontiac because we were ready to move and we kept up with them.
There are so many questions right in that one answer that you had, and we can kind of start with the village of Bloomfield. Everyone knows I live in Kegel Harbor, so I'm your neighbor, right? So what happens in Pontiac happens in my neighborhood, and we are a community. But with that, this whole village of Bloomfield has been, I want to say it nice, but it's been just, it's been a mess. Since the very beginning. And we're going back years, right? When they started the project, and there was a sliver that was in various communities, and everyone was fighting over it. Because while I'm grateful to see the development there in the village of Bloomfield, it is not what was proposed, and it's not what was promised to us. And really what I envisioned was kind of what we see in the city of Rochester with that downtown outdoor shopping, right? I'm sorry, I want a movie theater a little bit closer than going to Birmingham and some of our other areas, because back in the day where Target was, there used to be a movie theater there, right? So all of these great things and these great shops were coming to that spot, and along with it, very high-end housing. I had a friend who was looking to buy a condo when they were still in, the phase of promoting it to the public. And some of those condos were starting at high 200s, low 300s. And then all the politicians got involved. It goes to court, and then the economy tanks, and we're sitting on this land that's half a quarter built for years. So while it's great to have something there, it's not what was promised to the people that live in the community. So your response to that?
My response is, as I've told the citizens and the Pontiac community, the greater Oakland County community, is that I can't go back and undo the past. That's not the skill set I have, but I can move on to the future. And you're right. And that whole saga of the acquisition of land, the annexation of the land from Bloomfield Township to the city of Pontiac to build that whole area, that happened way before, and it was fought in circuit court. They finally came up with something, and in the meantime, what happened was the economic downturn. So the original plan was no longer financially viable. In fact, the original developer went bankrupt, and for years that project stood there half-built. For 9 years, as a matter of fact. So it was quite a accomplishment to be able to work with Oakland County and to find a developer who was willing to take on that project and come up with what we have now. So, of course, it wasn't what was originally conceived before they had the economic downturn. It was a completely different developer who had to have a completely different concept for being able to revive that site and to keep it from looking like a ghost city for another 9 years. So it was Redico who came in and had an inspired site, and they were able to take that now, and that's a thriving commercial area. It wasn't what was conceived, but what is, 15 years later, given all the economic history that's gone on since then. So what is there now is something that is thriving, that seems to be drawing a lot of attention, that you see Henry Ford Hospital now is the fourth hospital chain now located in the city of Pontiac. They put an outpatient center there, which is quite lovely. We have a Planet Fitness, and we have some other retail and commercial establishments that are there. So from the look of the cars that crowd that parking lot day in and day out, you can see that it has quite a draw, and it does fulfill the need of this area of the population, and it's in keeping with all the things and the development that's going on along that telegraph corridor.
Really, though, I will say, because that's my area, we shop it every day. You've just added to the, it's like another strip mall. We have Menards, but we have Menards next to Lowe's, which is then 2 blocks down the street from Home Depot. We have an Aldi. It's just, you add it, there's nothing unique about it. It's nothing to really draw me in. And we're in the middle of a pandemic, so everyone went to Menards. It's been packed. It's been crazy. But I wonder what it's going to do for the feeling of our city and the overall long-term effect of bringing people to make this whole area a unique shopping area? Or are we going to try to leave that up to West Bloomfield, Sylvan Lake, and Kegel Harbor to develop now Orchard Lake to come up with that unique walkable community that we also wanted? I just want to go to the movie theaters and not drive like how many miles?
Yeah.
Or shopping. I don't want to go to Somerset. I hate going to Somerset. You know?
Yeah. And I was disappointed, too, that they couldn't keep that movie theater concept, but the whole movie theater industry, as you know, has changed. And then they've been, particularly by the pandemic, very hard hit. And the reality now is that the movie industry is had to take a little hiatus. And I'm sad for that. I love the movie theaters. But, you know, when they came to the economic realities and came in with the people who were ready to sign contracts, when the developers needed to start the building projects, it was just that movie theaters had taken a turn. And so that wasn't, they weren't able to come up with a contract or a vendor who was ready to sign that contract at the time. Redico was willing to develop that property. So I was sad too. But in fact, I've got my Fast and Furious sweatshirt I was going to wear today from my daughter, who was a Vin Diesel executive producer. And so, you know, not to promote that, I understand.
We need her on the show. We'll take her on the show.
9 and 10 right now. She'd be happy to come and promote. So I think they're doing, Vin Diesel's now doing version 9 and 10. So the movie industry is not dead. But when's the last time anybody's been to a movie theater because of this pandemic? So that was just the reality of the time we were in. But the housing development over there, they've got 400 housing units, which are lovely. And some of them, they're starting to occupy them right now. And they look over that visage. And that's that kind of urban lifestyle that so many people are looking for now, and that we needed to provide additional housing stock in Pontiac. So that does that. So I would like to commend that area for what it is, maybe not what it was envisioned to be 20 years ago, but what is, you know, a lot of things.
When you say 20 years ago, I'm like, oh my God, I'm that old that I've lived here in this community for that long, because I remember the very beginning of this whole saga. With that, Mayor, though, I will say the great thing about the housing, do you also think it's a great time to kind of capitalize on, because you have some of your neighboring communities, such as Sylvan Lake, that have fought bringing in some of these new housing developments. People are looking for that in our community because of the access to the lakes and the schools. Do you think that now that's a new opportunity for Pontiac?
Well, right. People are looking for the kinds of urban living that Pontiac affords, and some of the surrounding communities. We have a downtown, and that's unique in Oakland County. So we are building, and a lot of the projects that are going up are going around that downtown corridor. One of the things I'm going to sign very soon is the closing the deal. We have a public-private partnership for developing that 2 towers and the garage with the amphitheater called the Phoenix Center, that we have found a public-private partnership equity partner to come and develop that with us and open that up again. That amphitheater is an 1,800 seat amphitheater. That's the only open air amphitheater still left in Oakland County of that size, the same size as Aretha Franklin Theater in Detroit. So that has been quiescent for a long time, ever since the days of the emergency manager. That's got a long storied history. And I'm very happy to have brought that into revitalization again and be signing the papers to close that deal. So that very soon, I hope to revitalize that. And that's also one of those things that make Pontiac a destination city. And I think that's one of the things that has enticed certain other attractions to find their way to Pontiac, such as you've heard, the rendition of the North American International Auto Show, which this year is called Montebello, is going to be in Pontiac, centered at our M1 concourse, which many people know about, and the city of Pontiac that's developed here. But it's going to have a ripple effect for the entire city. And not only is Montebello coming to the city of Pontiac, but also American Speedway follows that. So we have many things and many events that are coming to Pontiac because of the new narrative we have in the city that is making people know that this is a destination city now with many attractions. We've got a transportation museum that will be opening soon that features the whole history of the automobile industry, particular Pontiac cars. Surprise, surprise, where did Pontiac, Chief Pontiac, get the name for the car? So those are things that are coming to Pontiac and that have been happening and developing even under the pandemic and much before. And I've been very happy to be a partner in these things developing and helping to shepherd these projects through. And so when we celebrate that 1 year anniversary, that will also be 1 year of ways in which we've found to continue to develop and continue to find ways to make this an attractive community, livable community, safe community, as we're developing all those various entities that I've talked about.
I really feel like Pontiac has been overshadowed by Detroit and all of the events that are going on in Detroit, and Detroit being tagged as the comeback city because Pontiac has so many other things going on as well. And I know some organizations have struggled to get some of the grants for Pontiac and their work there because they were going to Detroit first, but you have maintained and you've gone on. How important is it to the city to, number one, have some of these big companies such as Amazon come into the city, but also M1 Concourse is brilliant, and it's their story is brilliant. And you add that with Amazon, could this be the change that the city of Pontiac needs to reinvent itself?
Yes, and yes, and yes. And I talk about it. You talk about it reinventing itself. I think you're right on, spot on with that. Pontiac used to be known as the hole in the donut, with Pontiac being in the center of Oakland County and the prosperity all around us. One of the things as mayor, I rejected that notion that we were the hole in anybody's donut. We were a vital, resilient city with many assets and many benefits. And so that's becoming known. And we're making that true every day with all the projects that are either in progress or that are coming to the city of Pontiac, and that we're attracting that new narrative about what Pontiac is in the face of Oakland County. We're claiming our rightful title, our rightful seat as the county of Oakland, as the county seat of Oakland County. And we're not the hole in the donut anymore. We're a very thriving, vital, important metropolis that has many benefits, and people are finding that out every day.
There's been so much effort to re-image the city of Pontiac, but I know people who live there or who moved there, and one thing that they are taken aback by is, number one, their car insurance, their car titles, their car, everything. The price of insurance goes up when you have a Pontiac address. And we know this has been a big hot button issue in the city of Detroit, but we're really not hearing about that in Pontiac. Have you talked to any residents that have moved into the city that are kind of sticker shocked in this arena?
I think it is true, and that's the same thing that Detroit is experiencing. So Mayor Duggan and I have been on the same kind of lobbying effort to reach some happy medium about that and the right kind of legislation. Something was secured and coming up as July 1st was introduced by the legislature. But one of the things in Pontiac is that's balanced by the fact that so much of what is here is still very affordable. So what people can get in terms of property values that are increasing by double digits every year for the last 4 years now, but that's still very much than what they can get for the same dollar in other surrounding communities. So whatever that is in terms of the livable utilities and things like that are very much offset by the fact that what is obtainable for the same dollar here in Pontiac is far more in proportion to what they have in other surrounding communities.
And there are so many beautiful neighborhoods in the city of Pontiac, some historic neighborhoods as well. If we could take a moment of your time to talk about some of the marijuana dispensaries that are trying to move into the city of Pontiac. There's been back and forth, and it's been a long time coming and a lot of discussion. Where do things stand on that front? Because I do know people that own businesses in that downtown arena that's trying to thrive, but there have been businesses that have been pushed out because the owners were waiting to hear back from the city of Pontiac. whether or not they're going to be approved to turn their businesses or their facilities, their buildings, into a marijuana dispensary. So instead of renewing a lease, some of these businesses are moving from the downtown area, and we are starting to see more, open buildings, empty spaces there in the downtown area. Where do things stand on that front?
The voters passed a referendum in November 2018 to bring medical marijuana to the city. The city council opted out of recreational marijuana for now, but in the referendum that was passed, that was brought by an outside group to the city, the power to go through the process and to bring these medical marijuana facilities to the city was in the hands of the city clerk. And so he's been inundated with the changes and the logistics and the all the wherewithal of getting that done. And it's taken him this 2 years or so to kind of get a process in place. We've supported him in every way we could, executive-wise, because we realized a lot of people were waiting and had so many buildings optioned off, just waiting for that process to go through. So I'm happy to say the clerk is now finally getting that process completed. He's just now announcing some of the awards for a particular one of the overlay districts, and we hope that soon after he will be announcing the other awards, so that what the voters passed by referendum in the city of Pontiac will come to pass, and the people who have been waiting and waiting and waiting to see what was going to happen with their applications will now have some answers so they can move forward with that. And then we won't have people just sitting on property waiting to see if they will be one of the lucky ones who will get one of the licenses.
That's great to know. How many licenses have been approved for approval, and how many applications have you received, if you even know that number? I'm sorry, it's kind of off the top of your head, but.
Yes, well, the referendum allowed for a cap of 20 provisioning centers. As far as the other facilities, kinds of facilities, such as the secure transporters, the growers, the processors, the four other industries, those were not limited. As long as people could file an application and meet the criteria for a license, then they could be granted a license. But what we did establish in Pontiac were certain overlay districts where we particularly wanted these kinds of industries to be congregated, and where we wanted that economic development. So in our protocol, that of the dispensing center, provisioning centers rather, there could be a maximum of 5 located in our downtown. And then there were another overlay district called the Cesar Chavez area. 5 could be located there, 5 could be located at large throughout the city, and then 5 could be located in the other overlay district that was in the city. But as I said, the clerk has announced that for the Cesar Chavez, and shortly we think he will announce the ones for the downtown and for the other overlay districts, and then hopefully at the at large. So people can have some answers, and the citizens can have the realization of what they passed over 2 years ago. Altogether, I think clerk's office has probably received about 127 applications for provisioning centers. And I don't know how many he continues to receive on a regular basis applications for other facilities. I don't have the correct number right now of how many in total have been received for the other kinds of facilities.
But I think it's great that you and your members of your administration and city council are working together to make this a smart move for the entire city overall. So when you say shortly, what's the time frame? The next week, the next month, the next 3 months?
Well, unfortunately, as I told you, the city clerk, in this case, it's our interim clerk, Garland Doyle, is the one in whom all that has been placed in the hands of, and he's kind of built his whole process and procedure and brought in the experts he wants to do. So, unfortunately, you have the wrong person here to answer that question for you. And so I would like to know that myself. So I'll listen if you bring him in for an interview and find out what is in his mind set about how he wants to move and progress to getting these licenses granted.
Well, Mayor, we so appreciate your time. It does really seem like some great things are happening there in the city of Pontiac, which will lift up our entire community as well. So we appreciate all the work that you've been doing. Anything that we maybe didn't touch upon in the interview that you want to share with us before we say goodbye?
Well, I'm just happy that we are part of the Oakland County community, that we have such good neighbors. I think we have great relationships, and because the borders between Keego Harbor and Pontiac and Waterford and the surrounding communities are all intermingled, and I think we all benefit from the economic development of the other communities. So we're part of being that larger community, the larger Oakland County area, and we just want to continue to have that good neighbor relationship. And that what's good for one is good for all. And we continue to have that camaraderie.
Very well said.
Always to be good with you. All right.
It's great to have you with us, too. I can't wait for the entire downtown Pontiac area to thrive. For me, it'd be great to see people, instead of thinking they have to go to downtown Detroit to go to restaurants once they fully open and experience that nightlife, that we go right here in our neighborhood in Pontiac and support local. Mayor Deirdre Waterman with us here on the MegaCast. She is the mayor for the fine city of Pontiac. So thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Always enjoy being with you.